Welcome to Postcards, a brief look at people, places, the arts and curiosities from around the world. On today's program, auction house Christie showcases some unusual contemporary art. Invite collectors and enthusiasts to view 300 different Rolex watches from the early 20th century. Our feature looks at the annual Glastonbury Festival with a culinary flavour. The new Tate Modern Gallery attracts over 1 million. And finally, still on art, the Royal Academy Summer Show. First up, in these days of experts and enthusiasts in the world of antiques, surprises are rare, but here's a turn-up for the books. This rare İznik water bottle made in Ottoman Turkey in the 16th century was discovered during a routine valuation of household carpets by Christie's Islamic expert William Robinson. Impressed by the exquisite decoration on the piece, Robinson undertook a closer look. It had been filled with sand and used as a base for an electric light. Its owners were completely unaware of its value. It dates from the middle period of the reign of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman Empire at its height. The holes drilled in the base of the flask for the electric cable are thought unlikely to affect its sale value. It's estimated to fetch between $150,000 and $225,000 US. Made during a crucial period in İznik design, the water bottle is painted with saz leaves and circular flower heads or rosettes. It's the centrepiece of Christie's annual Ottoman and Orientalist sale. It looks like any other gentleman's club in the heart of London. These magnificently appointed rooms were used by the Conservative Club, and an air of suspended permanence remains. Except that there's something slightly different. The pigeons are inside, and an imperial eagle looks down on a modern sculpture. Even this magnificent vase of flowers isn't quite what it seems. The 140 blooms are made of wood and are created by American pop artist Jeff Koons. A bargain at $375,000 US. Surprise is what modern art is all about, and Christie's had the inspired idea of showcasing its latest sale of contemporary art in these exclusive premises, adding a different dimension to contemporary art on show. One of the most arresting exhibits is Lebanese artist Mona Hatoum's Marbles Carpet. It comprises 500 kilograms of glass marbles and took 3 people 3 hours to assemble. It's valued at $60,000 to $90,000, and the prospective buyer will have to take it away in 12 sacks to reassemble at home. The young British artists known as the YBAs are out in force here, a rather genial Damien Hirst cabinet which could adorn any kitchen wall. And Rachel Whitered's Demolished, a portfolio of black and white photographs, which is itself a reaction to the demolition of the monumental work House from 1993. Continental artists too are well represented. El Segundo by Spanish artist Miguel Barcelo is the first of his bullfight canvases to be auctioned. It's in a tradition from Goya to Picasso. In this sale, which is expected to raise in excess of $6 million, reality and art are curiously blended. As we've discovered, nothing is quite what it seems. Still at Christie's, a Rolex watch has for decades been synonymous with combining accuracy and luxury. But if your idea of a Rolex is something heavy and golden, then think again. 300 different Rolex watches dating from the early 20th century to the present day have been put up for auction. The proceeds of the sale reached $686,000 US. Of the watches on sale with a story to tell was this early waterproof Rolex, worn by British endurance swimmer Mercedes Gleitz as she swam the English Channel in 1927. She was the first British woman to swim the Channel, and it coincided with the invention of the waterproof wristwatch. Rolex were patenting their oyster design at the time and saw this as a golden opportunity to test the watch. It sold for over $25,000. This odd-looking timepiece fetched $113,853, a record for a Rolex sold at auction. It too was linked with a record-breaking feat at sea, in this case 2 miles beneath the waves. As these classic timepieces tick away the hours and days, they show no sign of losing their appeal for collectors and enthusiasts alike. "37-year-old Fred Johnson is a chef at the Admiral Crichton Catering Company in South London. He's used to preparing large numbers of sumptuous meals for Britain's high-flying and high-profile clients at their special functions. But every year around the start of the British summer, Fred caters for a very different crowd. The annual Glastonbury Festival grew out of humble roots in 1971 and is now a cult event, attracting top-name bands, which this year included David Bowie, Travis and the Chemical Brothers. Fred and 3 of his friends bring their special blend of food, culture and music to a green field at Glastonbury and set up a Mexican food stall from scratch. After 10 years of doing Glastonbury, the team has perfected the operation. Each member has his own task, as Fred explains.
I'm a chef. I obviously do all the cooking. Tony does a lot of the electrical stuff, anything that's got a wire hanging off it. Tony can sort it out, fix it, or redo it and get it working properly. And many other various jobs that crop up. We just don't know what's going to happen at Glastonbury. Ian, the gardener, turns his hand towards plumbing. He does a lot of plumbing structural work. We deck out the store with lots of flowers. Ian's very clever like that, with his flowers. We have flowers that look like chilies. He builds the main structure of the Dave, who's very artistic and also technical. Dave does a lot of the structural work, a lot of the building, setting up. And then once the stall is up and running, just little tweaks here and there.
An entire working kitchen is assembled literally from the ground up. Cookers, boilers, a walk-in fridge and freezers. Plumbing into the mains water supply. The kitchen can operate with hot and cold running water, and even a few home comforts for the staff. At the height of the festival, Fred will have 6 chefs and 9 food servers rostered on shifts to ensure a 24-hour operation. During the setup, Fred has synchronised deliveries of various lines for sale. The Glastonbury water will move quickly if the weather is hot. Sacks of pinto beans arrive for Fred's chili. And flour tortillas, the staple base of many of the menu items, arrive by the box load. El Fred's Mexican Cantina expects to feed around 10,000 mouths during the 3-day festival. The team members have surprised themselves. This year's setup has gone amazingly smoothly. Over the course of 3 days, the main shell rises, the cosmetic is attended to, and final look of the stall achieved. An early morning trip to Bristol Market starts the day to pick up all the fresh fruit and vegetables. Even though it's just after 5 o'clock in the morning, Fred fears they may have missed the pick of the crop. Catering has allowed Fred, a British-born Nigerian, to travel the world, working in kitchens from India to Australia. But when he visited Mexico, Fred found a country that shared his passion for food.
Hand him at the real.
Tell him stay out there because your language is terrible.
250. The first thing I see in a new country when I arrive, apart from the people and the surroundings, is food. So countries I see by their menu, by their national dishes, by the foods they eat. I'm always on the lookout for new dishes. Oh, Mexico's fantastic. I was blown away.
The chefs are preparing accompaniments: salsa, guacamole and pickled vegetable salad. Fred visits Mexico every year, bringing back authentic spices and decorations that will give a special flavour to the food and the stall at Glastonbury. He was amazed at the variety of chilies.
I was only aware of a dozen, half a dozen or so chilies, but now there's hundreds I've seen, and they're used for specific dishes. There's dry chilies, there's large, big, small, round, all different types of chilies you can think of.
One or two of these will be used in Fred's special 10-bean chili. It's his own creation, devised as a vegetarian substitute for chili con carne. Fred says beans are the mashed potato of Mexico, the staple carbohydrate served with most dishes. Ingredients include pinto beans, butter beans, haricot beans, mung beans, roast cocoa beans and udal beans. 10-bean chili is prepared by boiling the beans for 3 to 4 hours until they're soft and turn to powder between your thumb and forefinger. You then add onions and spices and brew it very slowly for another hour or so. While the food preparation continues inside, beyond the stall the rest of the festival gears up and gets into full swing. Fred's is rocking thanks to the sounds of Nottingham DJ Tony Global and the Breakdowners. Like countless others, they were first attracted to Fred's by the sound of music. They've been involved now for the last 5 years. Last year, Fred's was voted in the top 5 best stalls at Glastonbury. Its look, the food and music all combined to make for a great party atmosphere, a party that usually carries on all night and into the next morning. After 10 days of tent life enveloped in a 24-hour party, everyone's exhausted. Exhausted but satisfied. Fred's is sold out of various lines. 7 huge pots of chili and countless nachos and other meals have been demolished. A festival finale with age-old Celtic ceremonial connotations winds up Glastonbury 2000, reflecting its reputation as the summer's spiritual heart of Britain. It was less than 7 weeks since the gala opening of London's Tate Modern Gallery, and already what has been called the iconic nerve centre of art had attracted its 1 millionth visitor. Unsuspecting 17-year-old Laura Horwood, who was studying advanced level art at school, came to the gallery to do some research. To celebrate the milestone, the gallery has offered Laura a 5-year membership, which will allow her free entry to Tate Modern's temporary exhibitions. Director Lars Nittiv says it expected at least 2 million visitors by the end of the first year, but hadn't predicted anything like this. He says it proves the staff and building can cope with large numbers and provide a true experience for visitors. Lars Nittiv admits there's a certain novelty factor, but ultimately the draw card is the unbeatable collection. At a time when another of London's new landmarks is attracting criticism for its low visitor turnout and high entry price, comparisons between the Tate and Millennium Dome seem unavoidable. But Nittif defends it, saying the exciting location and government support allowing free-of-charge entry is helpful. But ultimately, it's the fantastic collection of world-class modern and contemporary art which is drawing the crowds. Tate Modern is open until late on Friday and Saturday. The administration has now revised its expected number of visitors this year to between 3 and 4 million. Enthusiasts should continue to make their way to the former power station on the South Bank. There's no plans yet to start charging admission. The Royal Academy Summer Show attracts thousands of visitors, but this year there's a difference. The courtyard has become a railway siding, where Eduardo Pelosi's locomotive sculpture London Paris takes centre stage. Constructed of hardwood and weighing 5 tonnes, the sculpture occupies one of 2 dedicated spaces in the exhibition. The other is given over to leading American artist Frank Stella. He exhibits sculptures and paintings. The art is inspired by swirling patterns of cigar smoke, which are transcribed onto huge panel canvases. And the smoke patterns also serve as an inspiration for the vast sculptures, formed from both scrap and cast aluminium. The light and airy gallery makes a perfect setting for the work. By contrast, this gallery is deliberately densely hung by British pop artist Peter Blake. It's most people's idea of the traditional summer show. A kind of Van Gogh styrofoam jostles with tributes to Hollywood legends like James Dean. And this snapshot of Jerusalem on acrylic by Ben Jonson looks almost surreal. Elsewhere, things are not quite what they seem. Claire, an oil painting on bronze, looks ready for a walk. The Architect Gallery has models which also work as art in their own right. It's a way of combining the 2 disciplines. Works like Colin St John Wilson's designs for the new wing of the Pallant House Gallery in Chichester. Surprises abound. A light and airy Grand Central Station in New York competes for space with traditional English garden scenes. The summer show is not only good for the public, it's also a window of opportunity for the artist. The annual exhibition is expected to attract more than 100,000 visitors. The Cotswolds in the west of England is famed for its picture postcard landscapes, but a small area of just 15 acres at Colesburn Park, belonging to the Alls family, is fast earning renown throughout Europe as one of the largest and most diverse sites for the humble snowdrop. These delicate-looking bulbs are in fact deceptively hardy, pushing up through the bitterest frosts and snows. As the first flower to make an appearance after the bleak English winter, the snowdrop is much loved and anticipated as a first sign of spring. Carolyn Alls has continued the work of her great-grandfather-in-law, Henry John Alls, an avid naturalist and collector who discovered an unusually large snowdrop in 1874. The snowdrop now bears his name, Allsy. Carolyn's interest is now almost a mania. She has collected 130 different types of snowdrop here. The undisturbed woodlands are a perfect breeding ground for these promiscuous plants, which propagate in vast drifts. Charlockie, discovered high in Russia's mountains by a German, Dr. Charlock, is distinguishable by its petals arranged like donkey's ears. The sideways hang an unusual inner arrangement of blueberry tart, named for the Oxfordshire town where it was found, makes it something of a freak in the snowdrop world. The temperamental Lady Elphinstone has a real surprise inside, but if she's moved, her yellow centre doesn't appear for another 2 seasons. Carolyn's favourite snowdrop is also a target for the early spring bees. On a warm sunny day, the petals open and exude a strong scent of honey. It's called S. Arnott, after Samuel Arnott, the provost of Dumfries, who sent it to Carolyn's great-grandfather. Snowdrop mania has meant the rare varieties are becoming targets for thieves, but Carolyn says most enthusiasts are genuine. She's welcomed visitors from across Europe who come to fete this little white flower, which briefly heralds the spring, but which barely survives a fortnight. And when the summer arrives, gardening events abound, and the Hampton Court Palace Flower Show attracts some 200,000 people to its 700 exhibitors across 26 acres of a unique location. Now in its 11th year, the event follows hot on the heels of the well-established Chelsea Flower Show, which has been running for 90 years. Hampton Court is a spectacular venue, used by young budding garden designers to try out new techniques, ideas and materials. The show encourages garden designers at Hampton Court to be innovative and imaginative with their schemes, and the public love the results. The gardening industry is now worth between 4.5 to $6 billion a year to Britain. There has been something of explosion in interest in all things green, as well as a preoccupation with the home. Gardening programs on television have fuelled the boom and are shown during prime viewing time in Britain. With open space in big cities at a premium, landscape gardeners are now looking at creating green spots in the tightest of nooks. Rooftops, balconies and conservatories are all places which can be reworked to create the illusion of having one's own English country garden. Gardening is Britain's most popular hobby. Traditionally, it's been a middle-aged and upwards pastime, but with home ownership expanding and more young people being able to afford properties of their own, the interest in the garden is growing. There's more leisure time, more spending money, and the huge number of television programs on gardening are now attracting a wider and younger audience. One of the latest trends is the move towards organic gardening. It embraces everything in the garden, going beyond the usual fruit and vegetables. Here, plants, walkways and pavilions, everything is organic or created from renewable or sustainable resources. It's said there's a gardener in everyone. The Hampton Court Flower Show provides the chance to find out just how green are your fingers. And that's all for today. Join us again next time for a postcard look at interesting people, places, the arts and curiosities.